Superfood Elixir shake. All right. So now you can really play with it for whatever superfoods you have on hand, whatever flavors you want. I often, ironically, even though I have chocolate bliss every day, I often crave chocolate at night. But I crave warm chocolate. So this has been really handy to just pour in a little chocolate powder. But I didn't want to overdose you on chocolate, so I'm going to, actually, Dan, would you wash the lid for me while I'm doing this? Thanks. So I'm going to do kind of a vanilla chai is what I'm aiming for. And again, the chai flavors, I like chai, but the chai is giving us even more beneficial super herbs. So the clove in chai is anti-parasitic and it helps break up gas. The cinnamon is really good for balancing your blood sugar. Nutmeg, I think that's helping to open fluid passages and blood warming, but what I remember particularly from my conversation with Daniel Vitalis is that nutmeg was like this party drug. And people went around with their own little nutmeg shavers on necklaces and stuff. And if you get a lot of nutmeg, you can get kind of high off of it.
Wow.
Yeah, who knew? Yes. I haven't tried it to find out how much. Pardon?
Yeah.
Yet, right. You never know. I think there was a warning that came with it. I think maybe you might get headaches or something or hangover or something from nutmeg. So that's the only one that you might not want to put too much in. Unless you want to be like the 1920s or whatever year it was that they were having nutmeg parties.
A kind of cinnamon, because I read about it balancing blood sugar and cholesterol, and then I read you had to choose a certain kind or it could damage your kidneys. Have you
I've not heard that. The only thing I've heard is that when you're, good, I've got a couple in here. There's cinnamon and then there's cassia. And maybe, I don't know if that's what they're talking about, but let's see if I can pull these out.
Actually, I think the best one on the market is Ceylon.
That's what I'd read, that you were supposed to avoid the cassia and use the Ceylon. Yeah.
So this is cinnamon because it's curled like a spiral. So pass that around. Curled like a spiral. This is cassia where both ends curl in.
Oh.
And of course the store sold it both as cinnamon sticks. So you have to look at the, I mean you wouldn't know once it's ground, but when you're looking at the actual sticks you can see which ones are both curled in and which ones are, it's a full spiral all the way around. They sell it all as cinnamon bark. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to add in maca, and for a number of reasons. I like maca. Maca is really good raw winter food because it's a root and it's warming. So adding that into this is going to be even more warming, balance hormones, and you don't have to. It's really just like whatever superfood you want, or no superfoods. I mean, when I'm doing the short version of this, I'm really just adding spices of, I want a little cinnamon, I want a little, chai flavor, or I want a little chocolate flavor, or I want a little mesquite in there for mesquite flavor. So I'm just mixing it up for whatever flavor I want. Oh, and the other thing I'm adding is a little bit of vanilla agave nectar, because without an additional sweetener, you'll notice it. It's like, ooh. Even though you put the goji berries in with the tea, it still needs a little bit more. Tocotrienols, really great for frothiness. And then I was just rereading in my notes, one of the things that Daniel Vitalis said about tocos is that they help keep fats from oxidizing and spoiling. And we've got coconut fat in here. So it's helping, I don't know, while it's still in its elixir form, and maybe as you're drinking it, keeping those fats from oxidizing. So yay for tocos. And so the other things I would consider adding are carob, cacao, or both of those. I'm so in love with David Faber's carob lately. Like I've been using it in almost everything in exchange for cacao, because it's a really sweet kind of chocolatey taste. Yeah.
I've been adding extra to my bliss.
Yeah, really good stuff. And mesquite is another one I like a lot because that has a natural kind of chai-like flavor to it, kind of a cinnamony chai flavor. And it goes with chocolate really well. So either carob or cacao, the mesquite balances it really nicely. And I thought about bee pollen might be nice in here. I like a kind of a honey flowery flavor. What else would I put in there? You know, I wouldn't really. I mean, if you're wanting a pick me up, I'd do the guarana or yerba mate or something like that. Or if you wanted a coffee flavor, I'd put in some guarana for kind of a mocha coffee kind of taste. I would not put greens in. I think it wouldn't be able to hold it, especially since it's warm. Greens and warm don't go together very well. Yeah, ew. Oh, and the other ones that we have are lucuma powder and yucca powder. Lucuma, both of those are kind of light sweeteners. So if you could put in half of those and maybe half of the agave, so not so much agave. So those are the superfoods I'm adding, and then the other key ingredient is chia gel. So here are the chia seeds, and here's the chia gel. So basically what I did is I took 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and put it in a cup of water and swirled it around, and really it turned into gel within like 10 minutes. It really doesn't take very long, and you can store this in the fridge for up to a week. It will go bad. I tried mine after a week and was like, ew. But this is also a nice little thing to have on hand. Chia seeds are awesome, and part of the reason they're going in here is that it's slowing down your absorption of the herbs. So with superfoods, your body's up taking it gently, you don't have an automatic reaction usually, it's just kind of like over a process of time you start to feel better. With herbs, you can have an immediate like, whoa, what's in there, and it can sometimes maybe be too fast for your body. So with the chia gel in there, it's slowing down the absorption so you can kind of use the nutrients and the energy over a longer period of time. Also protein and essential fatty acids and good fiber and all that good stuff. So I'm going to put in about half of that because my recipe says half a cup and I made a cup. This is the step I don't usually do when I'm making my quick version, but mostly because I don't want to, I'm like, I don't want to make chia gel. If I had chia gel in the fridge, I might put it in, but then I'd want to blend it. Otherwise I'm having chia seeds stuck in my mouth so that, you know, balance that out, when to add and when not. Alright, so there's my chia gel, and I'm going to add some more coconut oil. So I have coconut flakes in the tea, I have coconut flakes in the coconut milk, but neither of those are really adding a lot of oil.
Are you doing that to slow the digestion?
The chia gel slows the digestion process, so coconut oil is giving me long-term sustained energy. Okay, and it's a balance. So I mean, like good food is a balance of sweet and fat and salt and kind of savory, well, and spice. And so I've been kind of repeating that with every step of this process. So in the tea, I have the bitter of the herbs and the bark with the sweet of the goji berries with the fat of the coconut oil, and a little bit of spice from the vanilla. And then when I make the milk, I'm adding a lot more fat to it with the nuts and the coconut flakes, a little bit of spice from the ginger. I guess that was in step 1. And now in step 3, I'm really balancing all of that with the spices and the fat and I'm going to put agave in as they're sweet. Okay, so I am going to put in just like a tiny little bit of salt, probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm just going to do, that's about 1/8 of a teaspoon. Bring out flavors, more mineralization, really good stuff. Here is the vanilla bean inside that I scraped out when I was making my tea the first time around. When you're making a quick version, you can just add in some vanilla extract if you don't want to mess with playing with the vanilla bean. Especially for a smaller amount, you probably don't want to use a whole vanilla bean. That'd be a lot of vanilla for a little cup of tea. You could cut it in half, but the big thing is that you don't want to waste those really so valuable vanilla bean insides when you're making a tea. You just want to use the bark in that, so that's why you separate it out, because it would have gotten strained out and then you wouldn't have gotten to eat them. It would be so sad. Alright, so here's my cinnamon stick. Now, my Vitamix can handle this. If you don't have a Vitamix or a blender that can handle it, or you're doing the quick version, you put in powdered cinnamon. But, plop. Same with cloves. I've got whole cloves, but you can also buy ground cloves, and but the Vitamix can handle it. So there's about 7-ish cloves.
Which would equate to how many teaspoons of powder? Maybe a
I'd
teaspoon?
probably start with a quarter teaspoon
Quarter.
and taste it. And if you're doing it, I mean, when I'm doing my own little mug of this stuff, I'm using, you know, half a cup of the tea, a half a cup of coconut milk, and then I'm just dashing
Okay.
stuff in. I might
So
do a
dash.
heaping teaspoon of cacao powder and stir that until it's chocolatey enough. And so I'll keep tasting it with that. But like a glug of agave and, you know, some dashes of spice, and then taste it. But for a cup, like a quarter teaspoon, even an eighth a teaspoon of cloves would be plenty, because they have a very strong taste.
Right.
Right. And then the other thing is allspice. Got anise seed, which is kind of fun. This is what they have at some Indian restaurants, as you're leaving a little dish of anise seed, and it's licorice like flavor. And you just put a little in your mouth and you chew on it, and it helps with your digestion. It helps prevent gas. And I'm sure there's probably other properties of anise that I'm just not aware of. Licorice was touted quite a bit. Yeah, yum. No, so not necessarily a traditional chai flavor, but we're going for vanilla chai, whatever this is going to be. So that's
Whatever it turns out.
yeah, whatever it turns out to be. So that was kind of between an eighth and a quarter teaspoon. And you know, this is one of those things where you can kind of test as you go. Nutmeg, half a teaspoon, which is a lot, but we're doing a big, huge blender full. So again, if you're doing your own little cup, do just a little shake of it. But this will give us some good heat. Here's my nutmeg. And then I'm going to put in a little cardamom, because I was reading on one of my chai tea bags, and it has cardamom as the last ingredient. And again, just a tiny amount. Cardamom is kind of a lemony flavor. Helps to balance it out. In our hemp milk recipe, we use cinnamon and cardamom, yeah, for a chai-like flavor. Okay. Oh, and agave. So for all this, all I'm going to do is a quarter cup of agave. And then we'll check and make sure it's sweet enough for our taste. So this, you can follow the recipe like as a first time around to make sure you get something that tastes good, but this is really one of those recipes you can totally play with by what superfoods you happen to have on hand, what spices you feel like, what spices you have on hand. It's really, the basic is start with an herbal tea, you know, bark versus leaves, and in your herbal tea add some kind of fruit and some kind of fat with the coconut flakes or coconut oil, and then strain that, make a milk, and add spices and superfoods to your desire, in a nutshell. All right, here comes some noise. I'm going to dip in there and check this out, see if we can get past the foam. All those chocos really made a lot of foam on top. Although it was kind of foaming before that, wasn't it? So when I'm tasting for kind of a roundness of flavor. And I can taste, I can tell I need to add something. I can taste the spices on top. And I can hit a mid-tone, and there's a bottom I'm missing. What we need is mesquite. It's drinkable. It's good.
Now,
Like,
why do you know, or how do you know that you need mesquite?
because it has a high tip of my tongue, in the middle of my tongue, but it doesn't have that kind of deep savoriness to it.
Okay.
If I was putting in carob or cacao, that would hit it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it to do chocolate, and so this is, I think, going to be
Why?
what rounds it out. We could do chocolate too, but just for something different.
Now, how much of this can you drink at a time?
You know, I think of it kind of like Bliss because it's so packed full of stuff. The chia seeds will help, so it's not going to hurt you to glug it. But I would probably have, you know, an 8 ounce to 16 ounce glass.
Okay.
And just. Oh yeah, that's it. We nailed it. Here it comes.
Here comes the
Will you
yumminess.
deliver?
I will. Thank you. Very good.
Definitely warming.
Yeah, very warming. And still raw, still superfoods, and in fact more than superfoods because it's got the super herbs in it. So, and that's actually important. So the herbs, you know, they come to you in their raw state, but they really need to be heated. But in order to extract the nutrients from them, compared to superfoods that you don't want to heat them because then you lose the nutrients and you actually change the properties of the food.